Дорогие друзья, здравствуйте всем. Приносим извинения за техническую задержку. Меня зовут Анна Олимпиева, я сегодня модератор первого дня нашего мероприятия. Мы рады приветствовать всех вас на международной городской лаборатории Калининград Urban Lab. И организатором этого мероприятия и партнером проекта, в рамках которого проводится лаборатория, является Балтийский филиал Государственного музея изобразительных искусств имени Пушкина, бывший Государственный центр современного искусства Калининград. И я предоставляю возможность нас всех поприветствовать директора филиала Елену Цветаеву.
Спасибо, Аня. Добрый день, дорогие друзья. Балтийский филиал ГЦСИ, все-таки мне это как-то ближе, да, привычней, но уже с 1 января 2020 года Балтийский филиал ГМИ имени Пушкина присоединился к этому проекту как такой равноправный партнер в 2019 году. И в этом проекте принимают участие организации, институты культуры, фонды, университеты, муниципалитеты, администрации из городов Дании, Германии, Польши, Литвы, Латвии, Швеции, Финляндии. И вот мы партнер от России, от Калининградской области. Мне очень приятно то, что в рамках вот этой городской лаборатории мы не только сможем с вами поделиться своим опытом проведения проекта на территории района, который прилегает к казарме Кронпринц. Эта казарма Кронпринц находится и сегодня в поле нашего внимания. С 2003 по 2019 год она находилась в оперативном управлении сначала у ГЦСИ, потом у РСЗО, и я очень надеюсь, что она опять вернется в Государственный музей изобразительных искусств имени Пушкина. Во всяком случае, казарма Кронпринц находится в актуальной повестке музея, и там проходят сложные процессы, но мы мечтаем все-таки обрести в ней свой дом. И мне очень приятно, что мы не только поделимся своим опытом работы с территорией.
I'm very pleased to share our experience of this work, of the work with Kronprinz Barracks, not only with our residents, but with wider community, and we will represent the best practices and the best results of our work to our colleagues from the Baltic Sea countries. And I would like to express my gratitude to this, to Varota, to Art Space Varota. They are very hospitable, and this project is being carried out within the frameworks of the program Interact Baltic Sea region, and it is financed by the European Union and the Russian Federation. And I wish us interesting meetings and good discussions and probably some new ideas. Thank you.
Спасибо, Елена.
Thank you, Elena. I would like to say a couple of words about our regime and our life for these 2 days. In these conditions of extreme heat, our lab will be held today and tomorrow, and it has a certain structure. So that's the urban planning project. One of the elements of this urban planning project is the urban lab, and it's the place, the site for cultural experience, for work experience between the cities and the communities in the Baltic Sea countries, and between those people who deal with different types of cultural and urban projects. And the outcome is going to be our enrichment with some new ideas and with the results of our with the successes and some achievements which we can demonstrate, as well as our partners from some other places can demonstrate. And that is why I'm really happy to welcome our friends from St. Petersburg and from Petrozavodsk, and they will be giving their presentations tomorrow. And that is Mila Buzova, Oleg Kochenkov, Alexandra Ninko, and I'm happy to welcome our colleagues from Vilnius and Gdansk who are today with us. That is Ekaterina Lavrenets and Natalia Brilovska, who 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 will introduce us to the issues of urban planning in their cities, and who will speak about the methodology and about the instruments that we have got, some urban toolkits that we might use when we do our urban planning. Today, we are more focused on Kaliningrad and the Kaliningrad region. And after we have learned something about the methodology of cultural planning, we will have a review of our Kaliningrad cases and the initiatives, Kaliningrad initiatives that have been implemented or are in process of implementing. And we invited the representatives of such initiatives. And then further, we will have two discussions. One of them will be focused on the platform for for urban planning in the Baltic Sea region and in the northwestern region of Russia. And we would be happy if you can join the discussion. The second discussion is going to be about the development of Litovsky Val territory, the area which is adjacent to the Crown Prince Barracks, and it's a significant place for our city. Tomorrow we will have a hybrid format, and we will have lots of colleagues from the Baltic Sea region countries and from some other countries of Russia. So we will have some Kaliningrad speakers, and we will share the experience of different cultural and artistic projects in these cities for the recent years. That's our plan, that's our agenda, and I hope we will survive this heat. From time to time, we will have a breath of air. We are provided with coffee and some food from the cafe of this art space Gates. And so that's kind of good condition, and we can concentrate on the main issues of our talk today: the cultural planning, the urban planning. So what is that for the modern cities? What prospects does it show us, and what outcomes we can derive from it? And to get immersed in this methodology, I would like to give the floor to our first speaker, that is Ekaterina Lavrenets. And she is the associate professor of the Vilnius Technical University, named after Gediminas. And she is the co-founder of the Urban Games and Research Laboratory. And she monitors the projects of participation in the development of urban spaces, and she coordinates the Lithuanian team on cultural planning in urban cultural planning project. So Ekaterina, the floor is yours. So can you hear me well? Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this invitation to participate in Kaliningrad Urban Lab in two-year project, which has been devoted to urban planning. We have got these laboratories from time to time, and they give us the platform to share the experience, to think about the cases, and to accumulate our ideas and experiences. And I checked your agenda. It's really very interesting, and you've got very interesting case. So what is urban planning? And what is cultural planning? We will talk about the methodologies and practices which which are recommended by the Urban Lab. And we can start with some points, some issues which are the background for the methodology of cultural urban planning. First, we understand that the city is the dynamic system of relations, that the ecosystem and all the participants of this system have got a resource, not necessarily financial resource, but that's the time that we take to develop the surrounding space, to develop our relations with the community. That's our links, our skills, the private space, and our materials, and so on. And the conflicts are kind of the natural part of the development of this ecosystem when we mean the ecosystem of barriers of a variety of relations which can be used here. And when we speak about the cultural development of particular districts, we have a very optimistic view on the cases, but those people who have got the experience of participating in such projects know that some tensions, horizontal or vertical tensions within the urban districts between the members of the community or between some organizations can be seen as the natural part of the ecosystem, because that's life. And that is the life of these districts, of these neighborhoods. So just the life, the life takes place in different modes and in a variety of forms. Then the territories also have their own potential, that is landscape, the culture, history, the feeling of space, the sense of space, a sense of place, which is an integral part of the identity of the district. And then there are some other cultural practices which are implemented by the members of the community. So we have a territory, and this territory has got the resource, the potential, which is to be uncovered. And then the members of the territory who also have got their resources. So just if we think about the resource and how to how to develop the resource, we can plan something. So then we have got the neighborhood, the resource of the neighborhood, the resource of the city, and the place. But to define the resource of the space and the community, so the members of the community have to analyze it, because very often the members of the community are not aware of the value of the resource. So to understand the resource, we have to study the resource, and then we focus the problem how to study the resource. Of course, we have to involve the community, the members of the community, and develop a cultural model. Like in this project, we attract the members of the community of the Baltic Sea region states, and there are different models in different neighborhoods. So the citizens can share their experience directly, or the municipalities can have some administrative resource to share to share the experience. But anyway, the people, the citizens are just the best experts of the place where they live, and that is the major approach of this cultural planning. So, and it's the process of co-creation for the district, using different techniques of design thinking, arts-based research, and so on. So I can give an example of a very short case, or very small case, which we developed together with a laboratory of urban games in 2013, 2014, when we started working with the historical district, which was in which was in some time in some kind of ruined condition in the beginning of the 20th century, and it was rather a criminal place, and people viewed it rather negatively. And an element of identity of this district in the 16th, 17th century, were the workshops, the pottery workshops, the glassmaking workshops, and the knowledge of it, the fact that we knew about such potential, gave us the instrument to develop one particular aspect of identity of this neighborhood, and gave us the vision how to attract the members of community into this neighborhood. And we developed the just the ceramic mosaic, so this kind of the pottery, the pottery handicraft, and we developed the methodology, how to produce this the mosaic, and we used it's rather cheap, it's not very difficult, and we used this instrument to get in closer contact with the local people and with the locals, because people got interested, and it's not very difficult, and they participated in our project, and we strengthened the link with the neighborhood, and then mediators and the people, local people, got in closer cooperation. And that's kind of a good example how the project can have the artistic outcome. And so just this participation, the local participation, can develop some artistic outcome. So, and what are the methods for research? That's the inclusive research, creative workshops, the co-design, photo walks, storytelling, the guided tours with the local population, and sometimes these are the local people who become guides, some artistic interventions and cultural events in the neighborhood. This cultural planning is staged, and every stage includes the local residents. One of the founders of cultural planning, Trevor Davis, focuses on the cultural inclusion of the local population at every stage of cultural planning. And so visioning is the methodology, or is the tool which makes it possible to develop the images or the directions of urban or cultural development of some particular area together with the local residents. Of course, these images can change, can transform into something, and can change in the future, but that's a good opportunity to talk to local population and to get to know what kind of image they develop. Because very often when we use the same routes, the same city routes, or the same city tools, we do not understand fully our link to some places. And so these artistic creative laboratories and workshops can become very good instrument to develop such understanding. Another point which is stressed by another researcher, Leah Ghilardi, who is also a very well-known name in urban cultural planning, is that the active participation of the local residents means that the local residents are not consumers, but they are co-creators of urban space. And when we speak about the urban planning, there is the major question: who is the urban planner? And we have a kind of tri-focus system. So on the one hand, it is citizens or local residents who know the place, then mediators who are represented by a very wide group of experts and institutions. These are cultural organizations, cultural institutions, the educational institutions like schools, universities, and even kindergarten importance. And these are artists and designers who work together with the local community in different social researches. And on the third side, there are municipalities and strategic institutions which support the idea of local processes and who ensure that the local processes can be continual and they can be included into the strategy of urban development or city development. Then cultural planning is about interinstitutional networks. It's not just personal, it's not about personal connections, but it's about interinstitutional connections, because very often it's a kind of private initiative or one-person initiative who work of people who work for some institutions. But the processes must be scaled up, and certainly we need the institutional support and institutional connections between the private organizations and private people and public institutions. So the composition of participants can be absolutely various. Yeah, so that could be the kindergarten with some particular ideas, and there could be the culture house in some neighborhood, and there could be different units or municipal branches, municipal departments which function in this area, different cultural organizations, or just people, artists who actively participate in in this process of urban development. So in each and every case, we can have various diverse composition, but there must be strong link between the public organizations, administration, and some private organizations. So if you visit our site, just you can see the site. So you can see the cases, you can see the cities right now in the screen, the cities which have been developing different methods of cultural planning for these recent 2 years. Of course, each case and each place in the cities can be different number of cases and different number of neighborhoods in these cities. But in every case, we deal with different challenges in some places and different possibilities or different capabilities of the districts, of the neighborhoods. The cultural planning in the cultural planning resembles the tactic urbanism. And we know that over the recent 10 years, we have seen a number of buzzwords which name the creative processes happening in different localities, in different spaces, in public spaces, and neighborhoods, and so on. And tactical urbanism is one of the names for such processes when the local residents get included into creative practices, when they improve some particular space, some particular area in the district. And the cultural planning is the next step. So it means scaling up the results, the development of interinstitutional links, and strategic development of some particular neighborhood, district, or city. And that is why we need this close link to municipalities. So the cultural planning is also about strengthening the role of local communities, and that's where the mediator is needed. And the mediator has to intensify the existing resources, and together with the local residents, they have to develop a number of events, cultural events, like, for example, a set of guiding guided tours around the district, which will make the narratives, the local narratives, better heard by the population. Or probably they can develop a series of art interventions which can promote some particular places in the neighborhood. And so then there will be a collection or a number of cultural events, cultural experiences, which result in the improved image of the district. For example, in Lithuania, we can have different directions in the process of cultural planning. And they can address some popular routes in the neighborhood or some space links in the neighborhoods and how they can be improved. Or it can be the identity of the neighborhood, which is based on the stories of the local residents. We work with some particular districts, suburban districts in Vilnius with Šnipiškė and some other suburban neighborhoods in Vilnius, and all of them have their own stories. They have got some historical past, they have got some cases behind, and just these suburban districts are the ones which must be taken very attentively and carefully, because they all have their particular identity. Then another thing is revitalization of green areas, which is absolutely necessary within our urban technological space. And in Lithuania, in Lithuanian cities, these green zones become the places for sporadic parking places, parking lots, and that, of course, kills the image of the city. And then we have to think about the tools, how to activate and how to develop this green design in neighborhoods, in different courtyards. So just something that we can do together with the local residents. When I work with some local development in different cities, I understand that there is such a phenomenon as the city code. And I'm sure that in Kaliningrad, you have got much better experience in understanding your genetic city code. In Vilnius, there is a number of streets which are fully given to the cars, and they have got some pedestrian space, but they are not green at all. And every time when you cross the street, when you go along the street, you understand that you miss this. The street lacks the alley. The street lacks some spatial element. And just this kind of feeling that you lack something could be a very good indicator that you have to restore something. One of such streets in Vilnius is the street of July Augustus, and when I found the archive pictures of the street, I found out that there was a promenade along the river, and of course, so just it was both transport and pedestrian street, but the transport was not so active as it is now. Yeah, and when you see this image, when you understand what it looks like and what it should look like, you understand what you have to restore and how you can recreate it and what scenario you have to take in recreating it. So then this kind of instrument or this kind of methodology is really very interesting and very productive. But of course, it's just the beginning. Well, another case, how we can study the city identity, I get back to the case of Visaginas, and we started developing 4 years ago with the curator from Visaginas, Oksana Denisenko, and so she is still working with this project. Visaginas is the youngest city in Lithuania, and its architecture is the post or late Soviet architecture, but with different creative designer ideas, which the architects came up with when the city was being developed, when the city was being constructed. So the city was built around the nuclear power station, which later was closed. The city now is trying to find its identity. It used to be the nuclear city, but what is it now? So that was the city with high concentration of experts in nuclear energy, but now it needs some different prospects and some different vision. And on the one hand, we use the pictures, the picture walks, which was suggested by Trevor Davis, and that had really very high potential to view the city space in a different, well, just to have a different view on the city space. And local people participate in such walks very actively, and they like it very much because very often the city, the locals have got the chance to show something interesting to the visitors. But at the same time, when visitors ask different questions, the city residents, the local residents, discover something new for themselves, and that's really surprising. The other method is the interview with local people, and Oksana Denisenko made a series of interviews with locals. And the main question was what connects the younger residents to this city, and what are they dreaming about in this city, and what they would like to do in this city. And this question, what are you dreaming about creating in this city, discovers or uncovers the great potential both of the city and its residents. And to me, it was a surprise that, one of the residents of Visaginas, who
для таких, как выездных лагерей для любителей астрономии, то, что
is an
окраины города мало освещены. И для астрономии,
unfortunately, I cannot hear.
и вот таким образом то, что может быть для таких, как астрономия.
Yeah, so just he is an astronomer, and he uses the potential of Visaginas as the platform for astronomic observations. And so just the kind of lighting which exists there is, a big plus, a big advantage for some of the residents. And you can see different elements of the city. And then after photo walk, when we started analyzing the materials, we understood that there are lots of elements, like everyday elements in the city, like the elements of many-storied building, multi-storied buildings, the elements of the constructions which can be used to, intensify the identity, to strengthen the identity. The cities, the local residents mentioned very often that it's the city in the woods, the place surrounded by nature, and it was of course a great part of their identity. And that's the ornament which we developed. That's the visual grid or the visual alphabet. So just which makes it possible to connect some typical elements into some visual language or through some visual language. And this language or this grid can be used in different contexts. And another one is the color palette. And but in Vilnius, the suburban or just residential areas were built in different decades, but they are connected by the main architectural elements. So they are concrete buildings, very typical architecture of post-Soviet time, concrete building, but they have got some particular color accent. And when you walk around the city and you see different colors in different districts and you connect them together, you will get this color palette. And we derived a number of color palettes because some different specialists, different experts saw the colors of the city differently. And this also is a good sign that the city can develop further, because sometimes so the residents see it differently, and you can implement different, or just you can invest these different ideas into this color palette. And you can see how this visual grid is made. Yeah, and then these elements can be used further in different contexts. And I know that for over these 2 years, Oksana, together with her colleagues in Visaginas, continued their work, and they have created a series of art inclusions or mosaics or art inclusions, which later can be incorporated into the fabric of the city. And why do we do it? Well, of course, we want to renovate our cities because sometimes the cities lose the diversity of elements which are typical for them. So they lose something that is historical, and they become, well, just they become very similar to each other. So, and if we keep these textures, if we keep these particular elements or well, characteristic elements of the cities, and if we can document it, so we can, of course, use it for to develop the identity of the cities in the future. Another way, local guides. Another way is the local guides who offer local guided tours. And so just the people who are local guides, they can be both experts and just common residents. And it's really very exciting because people can create the history of the space. And we, well, just we developed, or just we saw the kind of the program, or just we saw the process of the development of such, or growth of such a local city guide in one of our projects. And this, well, city guide is, well, kind of ordinary person from the, well, just from the locals who offered her own vision of the city and who entertained the visitors with her own stories and her own, well, poems and music. And then she developed into the kind of a very good, remarkable and well-known city guide now. So that is the district Shnipishke, which we work with now. So the district which was built in the 60s, and it's quite typical in Russian context, and it's or post-Soviet context. And so just you can see 5-storied, 9-storied residential houses with lots of cars in the yards, and almost every yard looks like this, and that's chaotic parking, which is a big issue for our residents. And when we apply some cultural instruments working on this issue, so we can achieve some results only if we have some particular cultural toolkit. Yeah. So just the most important thing is to introduce these green zones as something valuable. And and that is the only strategy which could save these zones from becoming parking lots. And our design workshops with the residents of Shnipishke made it possible to develop some particular ideas which could give some additional added value to the green zones. And you can see the results in the pictures. So in our art workshops, we developed some public spaces scenarios and public spaces images in some particular, well, we understand that we have to attract the active participants, and that is very often happens in some in some central places. But when it comes to the local, well, to the suburban residential areas, it's a different story, because these are usually quiet areas, and sometimes residents even joke that these are the places where they can sleep well. So in these cases, when we deal with the courtyards in some suburban residential areas, the local people understood the necessity to create the spaces for introverts, just some spaces which are suitable for some solitary relaxation when you don't feel like talking to somebody and you don't want to get to mix socially. You would like to have a kind of shelter or a kind of this space for your chosen solitude. And well, one of the ideas is to create some kind of nests. So nest is a favorite game for the kids, but well, the grown-up people also showed very positive attitude for such nests. And that could be the place for the introverts where they can hide and they can be with themselves and they can well spend some time well isolated from the community and from the other place. Then another element which stresses the identity of the district is the flower beds in front of the entrances to the houses, and I'm sure that you are familiar with this trend. And well, walking around the city, we understand how many people with green fingers live in our local houses, and when you start talking to such people, you understand that they are the kind of storage of unique knowledge about how to develop the green zones and how to develop the flower beds. And it's well, just another a source for another source for future urban development. And we can recall some public gardens in Stockholm, some public gardens in London, and so just that's that's a way to develop our urban space, to develop the secret gardens, to develop the flower spaces, and so just these are the private spaces which are well decorated with flowers, but and they are kind of locked with limited access, locked places with limited access, but once a year they get open and they become the venue or they become the space for the flower festival. And this idea is really very fruitful, and people can demonstrate their skills in flower growing and in flower tending. And I guess that this, well, the experience of London, Stockholm, and Berlin could be really very efficient to us. And we can see the gardens, or just we can see the gardens in some local areas, and of course, that could be the element to improve the life in the neighborhood. So this idea was very attractive, and well, we developed a series of guided tours around the gardens. And at the end of summer, the gardeners, the local gardeners, will be taking different groups of visitors around the gardens, and these local guides will be sharing their experience and their knowledge about how to grow the garden. And then it's a good strategy to develop some new routes in the city, to familiarize yourself with some particular well, spaces in the neighborhood, and you get the knowledge of the neighborhood. And after having done something once, you can develop your own knowledge of the place. Another instrument is about some technical issues of urban planning, and I'm the representative of Technical University, and we have got quite many Erasmus students in our university, and it was really very interesting to hear uh, the opinion of these Erasmus students of our local courtyards, what they think about our city, what they think about the cultural roots of the city, and how they evaluate or just what they think about our well courtyards. And it was really surprising to hear from some French students the remarks that that neighborhood is the neighborhood of my dream. So and just it's really very surprising because well, when you bring the students to some particular neighborhoods, the local residents get very open and they can talk about their neighborhood and they can introduce the students to the place, and that's really very very encouraging. And this the experience of Erasmus students shows or opens some new vision to the locals. And because we get so much used to our places and to the look of our places, sometimes becomes very unexpected. And we are used to having many open spaces, open public spaces in our cities, and that's the norm. So I don't like when the city, the public spaces get fenced and get locked. So, and of course, it's really very nice to hear the review of the international students of what the city looks like. So, and these are some examples of the student projects, what they have or what they can develop in the city. Of course, if it's about international students, these projects must have been developed in their local cities, but due to the lockdown, the students had to stay in our city and they developed their cultural projects for the for our city. Um, so, well, there are lots of instruments how to develop the urban space and how to develop some particular tools. Right now, we have got 54 walking guided tours in different cities of Lithuania. And the international students who returned to their native, to their hometowns, developed the cultural roots in their cities, and it means that the geography of our projects got widened, and so the students who use the same methodology go to their places and develop their own routes, and they involve a variety of different modes. It can be just a guided tour, or it could be a guided tour with some music, a tactile guided tour, which develop the sensor aspect, sensoric aspect of the guided tour. So just different elements in different districts, which well, through gamification, they can be activated. A variety of routes, and we get the feedback from the local people, and very often this feedback is very positive, and especially during the lockdown time, we see that people are happy to spend their time outdoors, and they are happy to use the natural resource of their places. They are limited in their travel, and due to this, the local trips, the local guided tours are in very high demand. It's not about commercializing it, but it's about developing the cultural identity of the space. And it's a good prospect for our work because it helps to develop the, well, the artistic potential of our district. That's another example of our roots. And Sometimes students think that, well, the district lacked um, some elements of curiosity. Well, and these elements of curiosity can attract many people, and they create art inclusions. These art inclusions are very common in Shnipishke district in Vilnius, and our students found out that the name of the district comes from the name of the merchant, one 19th century merchant Schnipke. And our students decided to create a room, a merchant's room, and they made this installation or this inclusion with a merchant's room, and you can find this room in the pavement of the district. And it's well, art inclusion, and it well gets very much attention of the local residents and the visitors. Thank you so much. So just all our projects are work in progress, and we continue working, we continue developing different sites and different routes. And I hope that our site will give you full information about our sites. And we are looking forward to opening the exhibition in Kaliningrad and in some other cities. Thank you. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Katya. Perfect immersion into cultural planning and wonderful cases. And well, just I dream about the time when we can run and look and see with our own eyes. And we are moving forward. And we are giving floor to Gdańsk, Natalia Brylowska, who works for the urban Culture Institute in Gdańsk, and she monitors the programs of cultural exchanges. She coordinates the cooperation with Observatory of Living Culture in Poland, and so she looks after the career paths of the young Polish artists. So she has got very good experience in understanding different cultural projects. And together she is with us to talk about another element of urban cultural planning project, and that's Urban Toolkit, the city toolkit, which was the result of the revision of different urban cases, the projects which were implemented in different partners to the project in the Kaliningrad region, in the Baltic Sea countries. And so they analyzed the cases, and they came up with this urban toolkit to create the methodology for all the other partners and participants to use it as the background to understand the formats, the lengths, the duration, the space, and the terms of development for the urban projects. And we asked Natalia to talk to us about this urban toolkit, because there is a special site. You can check it online, and that's the kind of the practical instrument. I think that you can use it right away, and you can start using it after Natalia has finished her talk.
Hi, hello to everybody online and in Kaliningrad. It's great to share my work with you and our collaboration with other partners from around the Baltic Sea region. I would like to show you the toolkit and tell you about how and why we created it and what was the experience for us and how I hope you can use it in your work. What you can see now is the main page of the Urban Toolkit. And behind the Urban Toolkit stands the idea that we want to share the knowledge and the experience from our urban cultural planning projects with you and with other people who would like to follow our footsteps and engage in the change in their towns and neighborhoods. So we wanted to show how cultural planning works in different types of surroundings and can answer to vast and various issues that we meet in our cities. So we present the tools that can be used in the different phases of cultural planning. And when we sat together with the team, we thought that the online version of kind of interactive guidebook would be the best and most accessible to the people around the Baltic Sea regions. And of course, what you can see now is an English version, but it also will be available in the local languages of the partners that we are working with. So what we wanted to do is to help people. And we, in our mind, we thought that it can be useful to people who work on different scale projects, the small grassroots ones that are led by neighbors, people living next by, that just want to change something small in their surroundings. But we also thought about the activists who want to work together with the larger groups, and engage different groups, sometimes, as Ekaterina said, sometimes conflicted groups. So we also think about the largest case, and also we do think about the experts, the architects and urbanists that work with the urban planning processes and just want to try something more participative and a need inspiration. And also with the city officials that are responsible for developing the revitalization, renewal projects and planning projects in cities on a larger scale. And they also need some tools and methods how to implement the cultural planning in the practice. So to develop a toolkit that would be useful to those various groups who work differently, we decided that we need to speak to them. We need to know what they want, how they work, and what we can present them and what can help them with the tasks that they have in their work every day. So we invited the representatives of those three groups, like city officials, experts, and local activists, to participate in the user experience workshop. And that helped us design the website because we needed to know how to build it according to the needs and preferences of those groups. And we learned that what they look for in the toolkit and how they want to use it, and what kind of materials and the communication they prefer. So the toolkit may seem kind of a mix, but we tried to make it as simple as can be and universal to those needs of different groups. And it was a great experience also to us. I strongly recommend it to everyone. When you work with the user experience and designer experts, they basically are experts in the user experience online, and we who work with the urban space and the local groups, we are the experts in the user experience in the urban space. So the connection between those two virtual and physical spaces was very inspiring. And some of the methods also they used to diagnose and create the paths how people use the website can also be very inspiring to our work, how we think about people using the physical space. So it may seem that those two branches of the toolkit, the physical and the digital, may be far away, but they really meet with the same values to create spaces for people that people will feel good in, and with the functions that they need to in their everyday life. So now the core of the urban toolkit are the case studies. And I will show you how the case studies can be presented and can be searched, because we thought and we knew from the user experience that workshop that people would like to see the cases that are most similar to their conditions of work, how they work, with what groups they work, in what kind of places they work, how large is the population they are working with, and how much time do you have to complete the case. So so this is the site that where you can choose what kind of aspects of the cases are in your interest. So so you will get the results that are most useful to your conditions and your plans, and you can also inspire other people by contributing your case studies to this urban toolkit. And I know that people from around Kaliningrad and Russia have already submitted cases that we will see today and tomorrow, I believe. This is one of it, and every case study is presented very simply, I believe. So we have a short introduction about what actually happened in the place, why, what was the motivation for doing this project, what tools and methods has been used in the process, and how somebody else who would like to do a similar project should organize it briefly, step by step, who can participate in the project, for whom it is the most useful and attractive. And also we have the experience about what have worked out, what was good in the project, and also what hasn't been that good, and what problems did the organizers had, and what we, when we are recreating the project somewhere else, should be aware of, and how we should prepare for some things. So the idea behind the case studies was that we wanted to give examples of how this project can work, and most importantly, that those projects work in different places, that there has been some success, so other people can inspire from it and believe that the issues they have in their own towns and places can be met with the cultural planning and participative planning ideas. So we wanted to give the users the positive vibes and the feeling that the people in other countries are dealing with similar challenges and they somehow managed, and how they managed, so we can learn from them. And the basic idea that we all share the same concern about the future of our neighborhoods. The other part of the toolkit is developed in the tools and methods part. And I will show you that here. Last year we have developed a simple video, and I will try to play it, but if you cannot hear or see the video, please let me know. And the video was like a short introduction about what cultural planning idea and method is really about. We created something that is visually attractive and simple for the people who are just starting with the method, who are not maybe experts, but they can see a simple idea behind our work. So I'm hitting the play button and I hope it works.
Planning is not a physical science, but a human science. There are no simple solutions. Urbanism is a cyclic, cumulative, and ever-moving state in which the emotional condition of a community is just as important as the infrastructural state of this community. These days, artists and the cultural sector are more socially aware and are re-engaging within societies, while traditional cultural institutions are taking new roles. The reality is complex, so pure planning and pure arts management are simply insufficient. Cultural planning creates a three-way partnership between a city, its community, and art. Cultural planning replaces various aspects of a sorted city. Transport becomes communication, housing, living, space, place. Cultural planning can be a formal methodology scenario based on the city, a local approach, an extended cultural sector approach. While preparing for the cultural planning process, you need to consider several points. Size of an area. Cultural planning can be used on different scales. Structure. The more informal, independent, the more flexible cooperation. Connectivity. The more connected to the political and management structure, the more useful. Specificity. Cultural planning must be adapted to local conditions and requirements. Resources. Engaging civil society, universities, schools, artistic and cultural partners, neighboring organizations. It secures participation and long-term ownership. Time frame. Optimal time frame is 6 to 21 months. To protect, nurture, and develop social cultural processes, you need to provide a mandate by entering partnership that build your legal and organizational capacity. You would activate city resources, use bureaucracy to connect them to the city, creating interdepartment links, relations with developers, and access to budgets. For the whole duration of the process, you have to pay attention to communication and promotion via different media. Regular meetings, ongoing evaluation, and mentoring ensure active participation and support the process. Take advantage of the opportunities for long-term projects upscaling by making them more open and inclusive. Usually, there are 5 phases of cultural planning: cultural mapping, visioning, designing, implementation, diffusion. Each phase has a unique value. At every point of this process, you should provide feedback to participants and partners and inform stakeholders. While designing your process, you can choose from a wide range of methods described in the Urban Toolkit, which you can find at urbantoolkit.eu. The first stage, mapping, provides methodology for interpreting the city through the lenses of the collective. It gives you a 360-degree view on how the place works. This phase brings fresh perspectives and new stakeholders to the planning process, providing non-hierarchical ways to share what should change there and connecting it to strategic planning. Vision gives a common imagination to new, unusual perspectives on the place, helps to discover extraordinary abstract materials, and gives direction to design the future based on values, hopes, and concerns. Design is a co-creative process of making use of rediscovered resources, physical, human, symbolic, for long-term benefit of all. Experts, artists, architects, and citizens work intensely together. They learn and create. Cultural planning processes create legitimate platform for strategies based on information on multiple levels and in different languages. Mapped resources, people, places, and structures, cross-sector networks builds trust and strong local endorsement. Raised level of interest in culture, city by tailoring engaged cultural program of relevant, progressive projects. It kickstarts change while taking manageable risks.
Okay, thank you for watching the video. I hope it also helped you who are new to the project to understand the idea behind the cultural planning. And if you want to read more, there's a section about what cultural planning is about, and also all the information about different stages of the project in written. We have also created the tools and methods search engine where you can look for the tools that have been used in our project and in other projects that inspired us with different groups of participants and with different ideas. What were we working on with them, and what we were trying to achieve by using this methods. So I will show you one of the methods that we have been using. I need to pause share for a moment, please. Sorry for the inconvenience, but the menu of Zoom was covering the page that I wanted to show you, so I couldn't reach it. So I had to close the web for a moment. So basically, every method is described in a simple know-how articles with some downloadable materials that you can use in your own projects. And this is a method that has been used in Kiel, in one of our partners' cities in Germany. And it was used in the cultural planning phase called visioning. And an author, Nadine Gutbrot, developed a kind of a visioning tree. And here you can see when it is useful. It has a short description, what can you use it for. This is how it looked. It basically was a place in the public square where people could write their ideas and their hopes for the future of the district. And it is basically available to age groups. Some younger children would need help to write, but maybe they can draw on something. So the age limit is basically non-existing, so you can use it in a very broad groups. And it's a very good idea for generating ideas for the future. And it has that kind of visibility in the public space that engages local community and passerbys. And also the number of participants is unlimited because the vision tree stands there for several days. And sometimes when you need to attract more people, you can animate the space in a way that you think would suit the local culture. So here you have some step-by-step instructions how to build the vision tree in your own place, in your neighborhood. And here you can find photos and also the construction materials and the project, how was it built, so you can download it and build something similar in your place if you also want to use it. Okay, so that was just a quick run through the Urban Toolkit and how it works. I hope you also find it useful, and from my place where I am the Urban Toolkit coordinator, all the urban labs are my inspirations. I also learn new methods and new case studies that can be described in the Urban Toolkit and can be shared with the international community of people who are changing the cities. So thank you very much for my presentation. I hope if you have any questions, I'm still here. And if you want to contribute something to the toolkit, I'm also here and always open for new ideas. Thank you.
Наталья, спасибо большое. Друзья, вопросы, если у кого-то есть, то их можно задать прямо сейчас Наталье. Если вопросы оформляются...
If there are any questions, you can address them to Natalia. So if you are still thinking about the questions, we can send them to Natalia a little bit later. Natalia, thank you a lot. And now we are going to move on to the part of our laboratory when we give the floor to the representatives of the cases and initiatives which ended up in this, or which were contributed to the toolkit. And the toolkit, the collection of best practices, and we asked the representatives of these initiatives make short presentations on what was happening after you uploaded your information to Toolkit, and just what happened after 2019. So just the life didn't stop after 2019, right? We described our initiatives and sent them to urban cultural planning. And so what happened after? I probably invite Yelena Tsvetaeva and Darina Smirnova here to talk about their cases, because I think that these are the oldest cases. Yeah. So I will give my seat and I will give the floor to this representatives of these two projects. Yelena Tsvetaeva is the director of the Baltic branch of Pushkin Fine Arts Museum with the project Tower, which was implemented by the Baltic branch of the Fine Arts Museum. And Arina Smirnova, who represents a wonderful project from Chernyakhovsk and well-known project. So that is the, the castle in Insterburg. So Yelena and Arina, the floor is yours. Can you tell us about what's happening to the project now and what's happening in the recent time, and what